So is there any use at all for bolts for you in this game?
Armor.
Armor, right, of course.
There is I think it's called Infernox, which you get at the end of the game, which will cost 1,000,000. I believe it can be done. I believe you can get 1,000,000 by the end, which is my ultimate aim.
Because you're not buying weapons.
Yeah, and weapons in this game are very expensive because the game actually gives you a lot of bolts, which I love, by the way.
Yeah, every game like Ratchet 1 to Ratchet 2, we inflated the economy by a factor of 10. And then from 2 to 3, we inflated it by a factor of 10 again.
Yeah,
So everything got bigger and more.
Yeah, Ratchet 3 I can't explain it. It's just a game that really does something that none of the others do. And like, the first 3 it all changes when it gets to PS3, and now more so when it gets to PS4. The gameplay is so radically different. And I don't know what it is, but like the Amiiboids is a prime example. Right now you can see I'm hitting them once, they're splitting in half. I'm hitting them again, they're dead, you know. In Ratchet PS4, you hit them like 5 times, then they split in half. And it's just like, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
It's the little things like that. It feels too different in a way that loses the original charm of that enemy. It's
with
like
Nexus
the little frogs
and,
in
with the PS4 Ratchet reboot. I know that North Carolina was explicitly trying to make it feel like Tools. Like that was they spent a long time trying to go basically make how Ratchet controls feel almost exactly the same and get the balance of sheets from Tools and try to tweak things that way. Like, so they weren't aiming to make it feel this way. They were going for the Tools of Destruction mode.
Yeah, I figured that was the case. But it's just like it's just something about this game which just feels a little bit more fun. It feels
the thing
freer,
that worked.
I guess.
The thing that worked really well, I think, in this game was like, did you ever play Burnout Revenge?
Yes. Yeah, that is a fun game.
I think that it's super fun for the same reason this game was, and they both came out around the same time, and that's why I have them linked in my head, and I think it has to do with how often you get rewards for everything that you do.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Every wrench strike, there's something crazy happening. Every, you're getting bolts, you're buying weapons, you're getting experience, your weapons are upgrading, you're getting new gadgets, you're learning new, like, the rate at which you just constantly get new stuff is so well paced, and each of the different things, like the different lines you're pursuing, like experience and everything, they're all staggered so well that I think we just managed somehow, accidentally maybe, to nail that perfect reward schedule that Burnout Revenge also did, I think.
Yeah.
Because you'd play a one mode in Burnout Revenge, and then you get a little bored, and then you go and play another one, and then by about the time you got bored with that one, something new would come up, and and they were all fun, and they were all rewarding, and all in different ways, and all just real sewn up well together. And I think this game did that too, in a way that not a lot of games do, which I think is why it got mid to high 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well, because the when the planet near the end of the game, like, once you get the box breaker, you just smash anywhere, and everything explodes around you, and it's so immensely satisfying. And I don't think any other
that was hard to do.
I don't think any other planet in the series has done that, not to the same extent, and I love it because it's just so
That's because
satisfying.
it's hard to do.
I mean, I can imagine it is, but it feels good, like. Because it's the end of the game, you want to get a couple extra weapons, you're about to face the final boss, they're not going to be powerful enough to make it so you're broken, because they'll still be level 1, you're not going to be able to level 9 in time. So it's just like, oh, this is nice,
So we didn't do that on purpose, that it was the second to last level that had it.
Oh, really?
Just the artist who was making the level, it was really important to him that the level be super efficient and have breakables everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And so he did that, and the way our breakable system works is it's not tied in with the economy balancing. It's just every breakable that breaks spawns like 3 or 4 bolts, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many breakables in that level that especially once you start getting, like crate bonuses or that sort of thing, they really add up fast.
Yeah, I mean, in New Game Plus, you can get
sort of
millions in seconds. It's extremely satisfying.
It was an accidental quirk of the way that our breakables system worked, but we liked it when we saw it, so we kept it. Basically, is what happened. But yeah, I agree with you that the balance in that level is, in terms of how rewarding it is, yeah, it's really nice. And we didn't change it mainly because it was the second to last level. We thought, by this point, they're almost done. Like, we're not denying them content by letting this be a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of, there's a lot of things that just, there's a lot of charm, in the earlier Ratchet games. I feel not necessarily are lost, they're just prioritized in different ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like both, but I feel like I prefer the original. And some of it may be nostalgia as well. There's always that possibility. But at the same time, I feel like...
Even with the way these games feel, there's a lot of improvements they made in the later games that I think are, I would keep, even if I were trying to make one that felt this way.
Yeah, I think like Raritanium stuff. Like that, you love that menu, and I agree with it.
It's perfect. And the way that they do what's it called? When you're the way that they have the camera controls now, where if you go into lock strafe mode, you can aim. Right?
Yes.
So as opposed to having to choose between strafing in regular camera mode and having lock strafe mode, just strafing turns on lock strafe mode. That's brilliant. Like, I wish we'd thought of that, because we would have put that in this game. Or like the fact the swing shot targets opening when you're within range of using them. Right, like that's something I'd probably like. There's a whole bunch of just nice modern conveniences that they've made that I would keep. I think if I were doing it, but I think you're right that it feels different.
The biggest improvement in Ratchet PS4 for me is doing the helipack by just pressing one button. That is beautiful.
It took me a while to get used to it, but I did like it once I did.
I didn't even notice it was happening, because I was pressing them both, and sometimes it was failing. Like, why is it failing? Is it because I'm...
Yes, me too.
I was like, why is this failing? And then it sunk in, but I was just pressing R1 to do it. I was like, oh, where's this been all my life? I've needed this. Yeah. It's so good.
It was nice. Well, I mean, just having to press all those buttons is not something that we did that often in this game. We didn't require complicated combinations, shooting is easy, moving is easy, jumping is easy. It's the challenges that we put in front of you that make the difficulty, right, rather than the wrestling with the controls. Like characters at this point in history were really slidey. Like even in Ratchet 1 you can tell the difference. Like if you run towards the edge of a platform and stop, Ratchet will slide for a little bit before he comes. Right, but he doesn't in this game because we realized that slidiness wasn't making it more fun, but the slidiness was there because Mario had slidiness, so you got to have slidiness, right? Like one of Ratchet's innovations was the slidiness can never make you fall off the platform.
Right. Yeah.
Like Ratchet 1, slippery, but if you, it wouldn't be the reason you died.
Yeah.
Game, we just made it more responsive. It's just those tiny things, I think, have a big difference over.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like two things I don't agree with in the new Ratchet game would be the not allowing yourself to go into the jetpack, the helipack, sorry, once you've got the thruster pack. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of like completely abolishing it once you've got the new one, and also only upgrading nanotech 10 levels at a time. Didn't really like that.
You on the nanotech thing as far as being my pet peeves. I think my other pet peeve would be that it's possible to have enemies get knocked all the way down and they get back up and they don't die. That's, oh god, I hate that. Because you can't as easily tell when you're done with an enemy. It messes up one of the most important things about Ratchet combat, which is who am I going to attack next? right? If I think this guy's dead because he fell down, right, the exact same way that he falls down before he dies, and he's not, then now the game sort of lied to me.
Right.
So it's not like a lot of designers don't agree with me on this point, but it's one of my pet peeves, and it's the way they decided to put here. So, or in this for one. So I would level that as my top criticism.
Fair enough.
But other than that, I mean, that game was a masterpiece, man. It was really well done.
Yeah, it was a very good game. It was a very good game. My apologies
and
to people watching for the mild stutters in the Skype recording. Because every so often, so often, it's just you just sort of go a tiny bit roboty.
well, yeah, and every so often, I can't hear you, and then there's a 3-second delay. And, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, sorry guys, but hey, that's the nature of across the world talking and stuff.
Fix it in post, Teal. Fix it in post.
That's effort.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of you and I did podcasts. For the last few podcasts, I time corrected the audio, and that took forever.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that though. It was good.
Oh yeah, I like doing it too.
It's always a lot of fun. There's actually one day when I get around to because I'm working on best of videos over the course of months, over years and stuff. So when it comes around to reaching 2015, I really want to use one of the clips from that series when you tell me to use the taunter on the mines Cork's headquarters, because that really scared me.
I didn't do that on purpose.
I know you didn't, but it was really funny.
It was so funny. You got so scared. You should put a little clip of it so that the people can see here. I'll wait.
I will.
I think the taunter might be useful against those mines.
Oh, really?
It might be. I might not be remembering.
Right. Why did you do that?
Okay, so not useful. Really, really bad then.
Why would you do that to me? So yeah, it's been played, I'm sure. But
okay.
Yeah, that's that was really funny. It was really flattering.
Why'd you do that? You said.
a lot of people really didn't like me at first because I wasn't Tony, and then I think around video or the video before they started to come around, which is quite nice.
Oh yeah, it's difficult to follow up Tony in an act, he's a hard act to follow for sure.
He very much is, and I still haven't spoken to him before.
Oh yeah, we gotta fix that.
Yeah, it's be nice to speak to him at some point. But yeah.
Yeah, just send him a thing.
Yeah, be good. Is there anything else you would like to talk about as well? Maybe the earlier sections of the level, or tour guys, or
anything. So I already mentioned how much of a pain in the ass setting skid up was.
Yes.
Let's see. There's also the little robots with the what are they? The
gadget.
The flamethrowers. So the story of this level was supposed to be there's an amoeboid infestation that crawled out of the sewers, and those exterminator robots are here to fumigate and basically eliminate the amoeboids, right?
Oh, those robots.
They can't tell the difference between an amoeboid and a Lorax. So that's why they're. So when you, at the very beginning of the level, you ride the elevator down, you fight guys in a corridor and door opens. You just leave it there. You'll see the exterminator, and the exterminator will kill them all, right? There's little moments in this level that were set up to tell that story, but I don't know if it came off very well, so I figured I might as well mention it.
Okay, interesting. That is interesting.
Because amoeboids, just like in Blackwater City, they're a pest. They infest, and just like in Blackwater City, you need to call in the the exterminator bots. But just like in the city, exterminator bots are actually kind of bad at not exterminating citizens.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
Typical Tron.
So, I feel like I've addressed this in a video before, but I would love to get your take on it as well, because it is kind of ludicrous, and I'm sure this has existed since the dawn of gaming, but I think now that, you know, the internet, don't know how I got intimate from internet, the internet is more prominent and people are more vocal, should we say. It's become a grander issue. So I think like this pertains to both Final Fantasy 15 and No Man's Sky. Because Final Fantasy 15 was recently delayed by about 2 months. It's nothing major, you know, 2 months is not that big a deal. It's a couple months. The same thing happened to No Man's Sky. Kotaku covered the fact that No Man's Sky was going to be delayed by a couple of months, and the fans of that series went on the biggest, like, abusive, like, march against this guy, and, like, sent him hundreds of death threats, an insane amount, just because they said he was lying. Like, and he wasn't. He was right. It was being delayed. Someone said they called 30 GameStops up, and like none of them had heard that it was being delayed. It's like, and he got an inside tip or something. It's just like, but like, and then I don't think it was necessarily Kotaku, but someone said that Final Fantasy 15 has been delayed, and then everyone jumped ship and was like, of course they're lying. Called up a million GameStops. Oh damn it. Again, massive, like, they're lying. I called up a million GameStops. There's no way that this is being delayed. Rage, death threat. And it astounds me that I know people are very excited, and that's a good thing to be excited about games, but the fact that you go that far just to prove a point which actually they're right about, like, is insane. Like, worst case scenario, say they're lying. Worst case scenario is they've themselves put themselves, like, in jeopardy. They're false reporting if they are lying, and that will negatively impact the way people view them as a journalist. So that in itself
You're
is
talking
their
about
own,
you're talking about when it leaked, that it beforehand,
yes.
that it was going to get yeah.
So if they're wrong, then that's their problem. That actually impacts them as a journalist, because they have falsified information and people won't trust them. That is their own problem. Thing is, they're right about it, and like, no matter how many death threats you send, that delay is not going to change because it's set in stone and already happening. Like, I can't understand why people get that vocal about it. Like, what's your stance on this? I'm intrigued. Like,
so the thing I usually hear when people talk about this is they think that they're somehow manipulating the marketplace to get more favorable sales time. So like, oh, we think this game will do better than we thought, so we'll move it into the Christmas window or something like that, right? That's almost never what a delay is caused by. But it's some version of that, right? Like, like when Skylanders first came out and the toys were all sold out, there were a lot of people who thought that we were intentionally making too few toys so that for some reason that would get us more money. I don't know exactly what the logic is, but maybe it gets you free publicity because people talk about so it goes something like this, right? You run out of figures everywhere, no one can buy them, everybody starts printing stories about how popular it is, and that gets you more.
Right, I see.
Right. See, there's a kind of convoluted way of coming to where, okay, it's not just a random happenstance anymore, it's somebody deliberately trying to pose me, and that never happens, like never. But every time a release window is pushed back, it's because the game isn't ready.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it shipped on time it would be bad and you'd be upset.
Yes.
Right. So delays are always the good thing. I think we've talked about that before. Cancellations too, because
Yes.
it means that you didn't pay money for a game that would have been a ripoff. They're trying not to rip you off.
Yeah. And in
And
fact,
if they
they're
delay it
losing
instead
money.
of canceling it, yes. Oh God, so much money. If they decide to cancel the game, that means that they didn't think it was fixable, right? So, yay, good that they canceled it. If they decide to give it more time, every single month that they're developing it costs them millions and millions of dollars, right? So them not releasing it is a terrible idea. Like they need it needed 2 months more, so they paid for 2 months more because they thought when it came out that would pay for itself.
Yeah.
Right? Is basically their business decision. There's no like they wanted it out in that time frame. It didn't work out. Like that's just always how it is. But
Yeah.
it's always good news. And I don't understand why people get upset about it because it means, wow, I didn't get Assassin's Creed Unity.
Oh man, that game. That was a mess.
Right? Like, yeah, and that game should have gotten 2 more months.
Do you think 2
Right?
months would have been enough?
And like,
though?
can you imagine if it? No, but do you know? But you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It 2 months actually might have been enough for them to fix all the bugs. Yeah.
Right.
Like they, in terms of adding features or tuning anything, I couldn't tell you. But in terms of making it so those bugs don't happen and giving it 2 more months of test and like take all the designers off of it, take almost all the programmers off of it, only fix bugs and DRC requirements like Sony's checklist or Nintendo seal of quality, that kind of stuff. In 2 months, yeah, they could have done it, but only if they had the infrastructure to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm saying that assuming they had in place a number of things that they may not have had in place. So
Yeah.
even then, it might not have been possible in 2 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Fair enough.
Yeah, but when people like, did you see the thing with No Man's Sky where someone was saying it would only take 2 weeks tops to add multiplayer to that game?
That's.
Did you
That's...
see that?
I didn't, but I know for a fact that can't be done.
No. Here's what you could do in 2 weeks. That would be anything like what that person was saying, right? You could have a prototype that has multiplayer features in it that is shitty and crashes all the time. Like that's what you'll have in 2 weeks. Like you won't have a multiplayer game. You'll just have multiple players in a game, which is not the same thing. Like you can't just take a single player game, put another player in it, and have it be a multiplayer game because that won't be any fun. Like it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
They're very, like you have to assume that it's in there from the beginning and add it in there from the beginning. And I mean, even if you take out the fact that, like, let's assume that technically it was not a technical hurdle, right? Like let's say that they didn't need to write the code for some reason, right? The code was already there and it was already bug-free, all right? Let's say for some reason all they had to do was just flip a switch and all of a sudden they would have multiplayer, right? Let's even say that all they had to do was flip a switch and they would have a fun multiplayer game, right? Let's say that they could do that in 2 weeks. The game still wouldn't ship for another 3 months because that's how long it takes to get through requirements testing and like making sure that there's no bugs in there that will brick your PS2. Like it is just impossible for them to have made an update like that in 2 weeks, even if you consider that the technology hurdles are like it's just so ridiculous. Like, and so when I see things like that, or I see things like people not understanding the delays and stuff like that, it just really reiterates for me how little people understand about how video games are made.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't usually make a big deal. Like we don't try to tell people how video games are made a lot. Like we do things like developer commentary or Double Fine's developer commentary, or like but most of what they're getting is from their imagination and movies. So what they're getting is not right.
Mm. It is crazy when you put it that way. I died. It's the first death.
I haven't seen it yet. Oh, there you died.
Yeah, I
Good job,
apologize.
Teal.
I apologize to people for you know, just like issues with Skype, because my internet and your internet combined make a super internet, and the internet is super bad. So
They make a really flaky Voltron.
yes, so I apologize for the robotness, but you can you can still understand what he's saying, and that's all that matters. So because I can't do anything else about that.
Teal, you need to move to a new country where they have internet.
You see, I have no money. The world's first big problem.
What? Moving is expensive? No.
Yeah, no, I know this is hard to believe,
No.
but it costs thousands
Teal,
and
Teal,
thousands
no.
and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, dollars, money. Do you know how much it costs to move in the UK? Probably way more than the US, because your houses are super cheap.
Oh yeah.
Like, I did look at how much.
Well, it depends on where.
I looked at the cost of living for you guys, and it was like I could rent a 2-bedroom place with a pool for like $500, $500 or something. I was like, whoa, that's so cheap. In the UK, that's like $2,000.
That's not the case most places. Like nowhere in California could you get that.
California, no. Yeah.
Like in LA, I had a 480 square foot studio apartment that I shared with Mary, and that cost us $1,260 a month.
That's way better than the UK. That would cost me like $2,000, maybe more.
For a little closet like that?
Probably. Jersey is super expensive, like ridiculously so.
Mm.
The thing is, like, saying like £2,000 is like a lot, but you know, it's close to the dollar now. It's probably about equal. So
Yeah.
good job.
It's coming on down. Yeah. Did I say 1260?
Yeah, that you did.
I don't think that was actually the right number. I'd have to go look at it. It was probably more like 2,300.
Oh boy. But,
there's no, that's what you have to pay to get to an apartment that takes cats.
Yeah. That is.
But yeah, it's expensive there. There are places in the United States though where living is cheap. Mentioned. Like Texas, for example, very cheap place to live. A lot of places in Texas.
Yeah,
not the cities necessarily, but they have more land than they know what to do with there. So real estate is not really something they charge a lot for.
That is lovely.
Like I had a friend who was living down there. I think he paid something like $600 for a giant 2-bedroom apartment that would allow him to have his dog there.
Wow.
Like.
Yeah,
cool. It's. But then, I mean, even with how horrible it was in LA, apparently New York is worse.
Really?
Yeah, like New York City, if you're living in the city, is just, it's undoable. I don't know how people do it.